but I do know that he, like, everyone in the RNG house, if you talk to them, will say that Mata taught me how to play the game. I didn't know that you did this, and this. And so I think that maybe like him being the smartest person there stunted him a little bit, but it just feels like they're not exactly the same, but they had very similar principles to, like, laning phase is really important. And this is something Mata believes, and I've seen interviews with him, is that like you overpower in the lane, and then it makes it easier to play the late game, except they haven't been able to figure that out really.
Sure.
So.
See, the problem is I actually kind of, I have always thought that Loco's point there about the too many cooks angle, again, that's another reason why, like, even though this is a super team on paper, it's not like a super team like, right, you've got the best top laner, plus this would be like the perfect jungler to go with him, you know? That part doesn't make sense, actually, because if you think of the past teams they were on, like, obviously Mata was in full control of all of his teams for the last few years, and kind of like unquestioned, you know, and people even wanted him to have full control. Then you look at Smeb, in his teams, he was always like by far the best player in the lane. So the whole team was about like, right, let me do my stuff in the lane. And then for me, when he added Peanut, that was just like, you already had like the strongest guy in a 1v1, just like taking steroids, basically. It's like, right, inject this Peanut steroids into me. Now I win even harder in the lane. And then, you know, the rest of them, the bot lane, which is now in Longdew, obviously, just waits until the late game anyway, which is where they shine. Meanwhile, Score, that's not even like a scenario where I'm going to describe it, you know, he's doing some great shot calling. Score in KT was just like Jesus going around touching a bunch of different lepers, and they'd just come back to life for a day, and then he has to run back to another leper and touch them like, oh, please help me, Jesus. And then he gives them some life, and then they start withering away again. And he just has to, it's like spinning, you know, a magician with spinning plates. He just has to keep as many as he can going at once. And if he keeps 3 lepers alive by the end of the game, he wins. But if he only keeps 2 and they pick off the other ones, then they're dead, everyone.
I actually think like it's one of the huge problems of like Korean imports going over, because in Korea, like even in solo queue, when you do the wrong thing, people will punish you. Like if you play the matchup the wrong way, like over course of time, like people will punish you over and over again. And definitely in professional play, if you play a certain way that's really punishable, or that isn't like the correct or the good way of playing, you'll get punished. So you learn by playing a lot and getting punished. And like when you do a bad thing, you get a negative response to it. But in NA, like you can play a certain way in solo queue, and even when it's bad, like you keep winning over and over again. And also in like NA, like as an LCS, like infamously TSM does really well in NA, and they do bad internationally because they do one thing over and over again. Okay. And then you don't get a negative response to it, so you feel like you're doing something right. And so whenever these imports go to other regions and they do really well, and then they feel like, oh, I'm doing something right, like I'm not getting a negative response, so I'm just doing right and I'm winning. And then they come back to Korea and then they're like, what the fuck just happened? Like I've been winning and winning, like I've been getting better. Because in Korea, the only way to like win is to constantly get better, like, and not get the negative like response.
And this isn't a personal thing or anything with the TSM stuff, but no.
I mean, that was going to be my joke when he said, you know, TSM do well in NA and go international. It's like, well, yeah, they had a user coach, so.
No, but
people do go a bit hard on Valorant when, like, people are expecting a lot. Like, oh, games. Some people are talking about how the game's too repetitive and boring now. Dude, people are grinding this shit for like 48 hours straight, and it's like just out of beta, and they're already putting out updates. So I do think people are going a bit hard on it for how young it is.
By the way, a shout out to the person who's such a fucking hipster. Their only way to be the ultra hipster is like, I'm sort of over Valorant. Like, I liked it at the beginning of the beta. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Why are there people like this in this world? Like,
holy shit! And those are the people. Those are the people that complain about that leave Counter-Strike. Same people that tell you Counter-Strike will die, right? The exact same fucking people.
And then they're like, it's dead already. It's like, it hasn't even launched. Like.
The best thing for Valorant, because the craziness of being compared to Counter-Strike and being the Counter-Strike killer was one angle. But for me, the first thing that struck me outside of any gameplay, outside of any of the abilities, was that I just had fun playing it. And like, why are we trying to take this and make it into an esport? Like, can we not just have fun playing this game as it builds, as it grows, and see what happens? Let's celebrate this as like the second coming of Counter-Strike quite yet.
It's because we built a fickle generation of Pokimane simps that put Twitch as their moral compass and guideline for how to live their life. And none of these people have any respect for process and building things brick by brick. Okay. It's a generation of fleeting minds that don't give a fuck about shit, that has worked for 20 years and instead want to jump from ship to ship on any new game. That
These goddamn kids, Lornas, with their Valorant, not even learning how to strafe jump or anything. It's just easy. Everything's just given to them nowadays, isn't it?
Three maps and none of them are KZ. What
Exactly.
the fuck?
Oh, you all need 3 bomb sites, do you? They only had 2 back in my day. And you know what? 3 people played one of them. I used to have to play one on my own as an anchor, twice uphill in the snow. You know, like fucking hell. It was a good rant. It was a good rant. I can't lie. You sold it at the beginning. I was thinking it was like a real point. They're like, where's he going with this? Like,
Yeah. Was it season 3 or season 4? Season 4. Season 4. You were super salty at summoning Insight.
I was definitely salty because you guys personally attacked me. So yes, I was salty for you guys personally attacking me.
Yes, Loco, but personally attacking you is. I could say, wow, Loco, your hair doesn't look absolutely perfect today. You'd be like, a mortal insult.
Okay. Monty, you might not notice, but me and Thorin filmed the show earlier, and I was like, okay, I'm filming a show with Monty. I got to look my best, so I went and changed. Make sure I look good.
But I'm just saying, your threshold of being insulted is like one of the lowest I've ever seen for a human being.
Okay. So, I'll explain why you feel that way and why other people don't. So, I'll genuinely explain. So,
what do you mean?
I'll explain why you feel that. No, I like the part where he just goes, okay, Monty, I'll explain why you feel that way.
And also why literally no one else thinks this, and I have proof of what everyone else thinks.
Okay,
so when random idiots or people I don't like come up and insult me, I don't give a fuck. Like, their opinion means nothing to me. Like, I get so many negative comments just being an online personality. The 2 of you guys know, like, I don't give a fuck. And also in esports, there's a lot of fake friends. Like, people like that are just friends with each other for like.
And then they join a team, they become a coach. Next thing you know, they just go and talk to you. They're spreading lies about you in the industry. Yeah, I know there's a lot of fake fucks in this business, you know. Yeah. Loco, doesn't it hurt your soul to be hard stuck in Diamond 5 when you used to think you were like the best AD carry in the world? Like,
so
that must kill you.
I mean, not really, because I was Masters earlier this year when I tryharded. No, I was.
He's literally giving like the solo queue example of like, no, but you have to know that my real level when I'm playing pro player, like I've had a good night's sleep, is like I'm like a Masters player. Like, but the MMR's all fucked up, and then this guy kept picking Sion in like my promos, and like, oh, it's bullshit, dude. So I'm not playing anymore, and I quit now. Like, okay.
I literally was Masters. I was Masters 200 points. I'm gonna fucking link the screenshot, and it's gonna be part of the video. So I was Masters earlier this year when I was like really playing hard and really trying to climb. Versus now I'm not playing as hard, so I'm D5. So like it doesn't bother me that much. I think if I put in the work again, I could easily be Masters and hopefully even Challenger.
Yeah, in many ways, that's sort of like a metaphor for TSM. You know, like they think that they could be better, they could be masters of the game. You know, hard stock in Diamond 5. You know, they're fine with how it is at the moment, but are they ever going to make it? Maybe.
And
not.
they're always promising that they could get back to Challenger.
Oh, yeah. So, we haven't even discussed the topic of this video yet.
No,
Dan, here's the small question I have to ask you. Do you think you are the 3rd best caster in the world? Did you see that was Reddit's end of year awards? You were number 3, 3rd best caster.
It's true. I think that's accurate. I think that's fair.
No, it's not, because here's the problem, right? The first on the list was Sadikist, right? That's a pretty good shout, actually. If you were just taking out all fame and all the rest of it, Sadikist's a pretty good shout for number 1. He's very good. But the problem is, right, you're number 3, okay, fine, you know, people can have their different opinions. But number 2 was Bardolph. That's where it all falls apart, isn't it? It's the number 2 was Bardolph. Unless that was just a genius way of them implying that he is shit because he's number 2. So I don't know if that's what they were trying to do, if meme magic is real, but
I think they're just aware that he's probably going to die soon. Out of all the commentators, he's probably going to die soon. So
right.
getting their appreciation.
Dan, you're getting into a lot of trouble with this, Dan. So I'm just going to say, for everyone who doesn't know, Dan means because James, as a hobby, is doing scuba diving with sharks. Because again, I notice you get into this trouble with this a lot, Dan, where you don't reference the context and you say things about James which people interpret racially, believe it or not. So when you say that he is going to die soon, that's not any sort of comment on the political environment we live in, or Trump's America, or anything else like that. That's just about James's ridiculous, extravagant lifestyle.
Listen,
Right?
there's no way Bardoff is in like the top 5 of the casting Deadpool. There's no way that he's up there. He eats cheese in his pastime. His Twitter is filled with today's daily cheese. Someone like that
you are saying that in the presence of Dan, who made a tweet about broccoli.
Good point. Fair point.
Yeah,
And that wasn't a
Cheese,
metaphor.
cholesterol, let's go.
That wasn't anything on Urban Dictionary. He literally meant he just likes broccoli.
I always had respect for G2 because G2, the original G2, they're like, we don't give a fuck about that. We're just gonna get Shocks and Scream. Have this super basic way they're playing the game, which frankly, it has a cap on it. Basically, you can only do so well. Everybody has to be hitting that crazy level individually for it to actually work. For you actually to be able to win tournaments with it, and it's a highly inconsistent style. But fuck it, we're gonna do that because that's what we want to do. And they never had that like.
They didn't have a lot of choice, to be fair, Dan. Like, they didn't have a lot of pieces they were working with, you know.
They never had a crisis of identity though, so at least they committed to it because that's what Envious had. Envious, they struggled. G2, I think, had a bit more success when they were having some success. Either way, this new lineup is like
rephrase that sentence right now.
Yeah, dude.
Rephrase that sentence, Dan.
I think we found the title. Found the title.
Envious had a bit more success when they were having success, right? Explain what you meant by that.
No, G2.
Use your words, Dan. G2.
Yeah. Oh, well, back when they had how many tournaments did they win? They won.
Right. I'm trying to unpack what you meant. Do you mean that G2 as a team had more success when Scream and Shocks had more success? Is that what you were saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going then.
Yeah. So, to me, the new G2 is just a glorified version of the old G2. It is still going to be capped in the same way. They're still going to be limited by going for the pure skill approach. Like you have to be. I think it's been already mentioned previously in this podcast. Right now, to succeed on the top level, you have to be able to step it up to the level of the Astraluses and the SKs of the world, to that system that has a lot of strategy and tactics. You have to have that diversity. Otherwise, you can't have consistency in this incredibly competitive environment. And if you don't have consistency, and there's 3 or 4 or 5 teams that in the top 8 that can have like a 50-50, like a coin flip win rate against you, then you're not going to be going deep in tournaments. And I think that's where the new G2 could possibly be, unless they have that magical period like the old G2 did, where Scream and Shocks were just godlike for a series of tournaments, and then you can get deep. But otherwise, I don't see them doing too much in the next few months, unless they change things completely.
Yeah, but I think also when you look at so take a look at Cloud9, and then you also look at like TSM and Echo Fox, like all these teams that come primarily from League of Legends that have gotten teams like. I don't think it's any stretch to say that the League of Legends owners of these organizations gave a fuck about CSGO. The game was just too big for them to ignore. And I think part of it to even get into like some of the behind the scenes politics and business of esports, I think when you look at how aggressive Riot is and how much they control that scene, they looked at CSGO and they were like, this is a scene that has literally nothing overlooking it. Like, this is the scene where there's no overarching like governing body that can just strike us down whenever it feels like. Let's get into CSGO because we don't. Well, they do it to me. Always got to be about you, Josh.
No, but I mean, yeah, that's clearly one of the reasons they went. Like, here's what's funny: as Riot was more and more restrictive and like held things back from growing in League of Legends, I think definitely that as CS:GO got bigger, people were like, well, why wouldn't I just invest the same money into this game instead? You know, like this game, I've got a lot more chance to do things here and get more exposure and obviously. Rev share with sticker money and all sorts of shit that at the time did not exist in League of Legends. So I certainly think that's one of the reasons why the NA orgs all exploded into CSGO at this time, whereas actually, yeah, like back in the iBet Power days, there was 2 orgs, and neither of them were LCS, well, Cloud9, I guess, but that's it.
I love how we get down this tangent of like we started at talking about C9 and what would stop C9 into like we started talking about their old players and if they would like who would we replace, and now we're talking about like orgs and other games, like and we're talking about like Riot. Like how does Riot get into discussion about CS:GO?
It's always good to say that Riot shit in some sense, okay? So
this is your daily message. Riot I've heard rumors that ESL is allowing giving permission for coaches now. Is that like true?
They're using the Valve system. They're using like the you can have coaches, obviously, and they can be plugged into your comms, but they can only talk during the timeouts. Like, once the game and the rounds are live, they can't say a word.
But, sorry. I was talking more on the lines of, like, someone like me.
Oh.
Like, Valve, sorry. That's what, I should have been more specific.
Oh, not that I know of.
Wait a minute. You mean this whole thing, Steele, was some sort of reference to your theory that Daze is the secret coach of Cloud9 and will now be revealed? And he was like, "It was me all along, Steele. It was me all along." Is that what you're implying?
No, I'm just saying, like, if C9's gonna need a coach sometime.
Okay.
Like, money's been a little tight.
Okay.
Swipe right on your Tinder.
No, maybe. No.
I've been pleasantly surprised during the time I've had my Patreon and my Patreon community, the Skrilluminati, by both the financial support they've provided and the moral support. And so this video was kindly supported and made possible by Starlust, Theo Buenzelli, Ahmed Hadjou, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Tooorin, Jensen Goh, Animosity, Tobias Bernasconi, Bot Pounder 420, Yurka 86, Tosh, and as always, you know it, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to ask a question in one of those AMAs where I tend to go pretty in depth? Sometimes they even spin out into their own videos. Do you want teasers to find out who the upcoming guests are for the myriad of interviews that I do across esports? Maybe you want to suggest a topic or a guest. We have a channel on my Discord where you can do that if you're at the right tier. And of course, you could potentially take part in one of those lengthy esports discussions with me about whatever is on your mind in the scene. Well, if any of those perks sound tantalizing, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.